Okay, this video is going to be in two parts, and first up is Kitten Lady, who I really like. I like her. I watch her videos, and she's takes care of feral kittens, abandoned kittens, and it's great. She's doing great work. Unfortunately, I just recently saw this video of her, and she has to bring feminism into rescuing kittens, and it's rather unfortunate. Like I said, I like her, so this is not an attack against Kitten Lady. She's doing a great job. I'm addressing the subjects she has brought up.
I used to do work with an organization called Girls Rock, which I'm still super passionate about. An incredible project if anybody is looking for a great program for kids. It's called Girls Rock. It's in a lot of cities, but I used to work for them in North Carolina. And one of the things that I developed for them was this workshop about gender identity and kind of like the binaries around gender that we arbitrarily assign.
Now we're off to a crazy start here because I'm not really sure who arbitrarily assigns genders, but let's go on.
So, for instance, just like the easiest thing is like pink is for girls, blue is for boys, like totally arbitrary, right?
No, it would be totally arbitrary if some boys got pink and some boys got blue and some girls got blue and some girls got pink. But in the Western world, for decades, for a long time, we've been doing pink to identify girls and blue to identify boys. Whether that's right or wrong, whether that's good or bad, it's not arbitrary. It's very, very specific and very planned.
So I used to do these workshops with this summer camp that Girls Rock held about the gender binary and kind of helping kids work through, okay, where did we learn that unicorns are for girls? Like, where did we learn that Star Wars is for boys?
I'd hate to say this, but they probably learned that at the summer camp. We have a society where boys do gravitate to some things and girls gravitate to others, and of course there's always exceptions. Like we've talked about sexual dimorphism, and there are women that are taller than some men, but in general men are taller than women. And it's the same way with likes and dislikes.
Do any of the girls in this room like Star Wars? Okay, yes. So then, why do we assign that to boys? And kind of looking at like the ways that pop culture and our own families, and, just kind of like that our culture assigns a gender to different products or...
Oh, you mentioned pop culture. Well, guess what? You have an expert in pop culture to the rescue. Just give Anita Sarkeesian a call.
Interests or jobs or colors. And, the conclusion of all of that is that that's a very limiting thing for both boys and girls, right? Because it stops a child who's, and like so easily influenced by the world around them. It stops them from being able to develop their interests, right? Because there's so much shame in liking something that's not in your box, right? Like you're not supposed to like. And I definitely grew up, I think, being limited because of my gender, because there were lots of things that I probably would have been interested in.
And even though the evil, big, bad patriarchy had kept you from doing all the things you would have been interested in, you seem to have done pretty well for yourself. It looks that way.
But that I didn't feel like were available to me. And I think like that's one major way that the cat lady, and not even putting in the crazy part, but just the cat lady stereotype, it damages not only women and men and boys who, feel like it's not cool to like cats if you're a boy, but it also hurts cats. Because at the end of the day, we have over 1 million cats being euthanized in the United States alone every year, and they need people to be saving them. And if we're teaching, half of the population that it's not cool for them to like cats, then that's a problem, because they're not going to go adopt. They're definitely not going to get involved in rescue. So I am a big fan of anything that kind of like undermines the stereotype that it's like not that it's not manly, but that there's anything to do with gender involving cats. It's just not a gendered thing. A cat is another species. It doesn't have anything to do, like being a man or a woman doesn't.
I'm going to try to make this brief and finish up with Kitten Lady here. She's right, there are over 1 million cats euthanized each year, but according to the ASPCA, there are 1.2 million dogs euthanized each year with 1.4 million cats. There are more cats euthanized. I don't really see the difference. There's some gender, as she mentions herself. There's no it's a different species. It's not. I've never thought of cats as female and dogs as male. And I think cats have actually passed dogs as has the highest amount of pets, percentage of pets in the United States. But I just don't see how teaching people something that doesn't exist is going to help these. I would like to help all the homeless animals, and so if we could teach people not to be cruel to pets, that would be I think it would be more helpful than trying to chasing this feminism idea that we've we arbitrarily assign genders to people and animals. Anyway, moving on, we have a new avatar, and so if you like it, let me know in the comments below. We could always go back to the moving, somebody called it the moving face avatar. We can go back to that. It's great. But we're going to talk about the main topic. We're going to move away from Kitten Lady, who's a wonderful person. I like her videos. But toxic feminism proves women are weak. I want to give you an anecdote from when I was at a job years ago, and it was all men, and women were trying to move into the department, and the men were against the women. It was a manly job. It wasn't a woman's job, and they had a lot of complaints, and I kind of was appalled. I didn't see at the time why. I didn't see it as a job that women couldn't do, and I didn't understand. So a lot of the reasons didn't make sense, and they didn't make sense. One of them that actually didn't make sense at the time, but proved to be fruitful, was that if they don't get their way, they'll complain, or if you, like the guys will, have shop talk and banter and exchange quips and use language at each other, and the guys in the years I've worked, I've never had a guy run out of the shop crying and claiming he was harassed or because people were very mean. People can be very mean to each other. Men, women could be mean to women. Kids are junior high school years really rough on each other, no matter what sex they are. And but one of the things came true with the women that eventually ended up in the department. If they didn't get their way, they would go running to the boss, and they would get attention, and nothing that the guys could ever get away with. And if they tried to duke it out with the guys, and they wanted to be one of the guys, which I had nothing against. Once again, I did not have anything against women. I didn't see any reason why women couldn't do the job. I wasn't against them. But if they got their feelings hurt, they went running to the boss and cried, and then the guys got in trouble for it. So in recent years, I'm going to give you examples of that's my anecdote, and you can believe it or not believe it, and you can think whatever you want of it. I'm sure a lot of you had similar experiences. But we've had in recent years a number of notable women on the internet, in the secular community, in the skeptic community, who have shown, because they run crying foul, and they want attention, and it seems like for a while every talk they gave was about me, about me being picked on. They're bullying me, And I'm going to show you a series of clips of people you're probably already familiar with, but just to make my point.
By doing this work, I have been the target for 3 years nonstop of egregious online harassment in all levels. I think it's important to recognize that harassment is, as someone had mentioned, it's not just what is legal and illegal, right? Harassment is threats of violence, but it's also the day-to-day grind of you're a liar, you suck, you know.
I know this clip has been covered by many other YouTubers over and over again for the very reason I have it in here, and it just shows you that you suck. If men could go running to the UN and cry foul every time they got insulted on the internet, I don't think there would be time or room on the face of the earth to have the men show up to complain about being teased or saying you suck. Now, my point is that if we are co-equal sexes, and your feelings are so easily hurt that you have to go running and complaining about it. And the other issues, if you have issues of criminal activity, people making threats, you did the right thing, you went to the police, you went to the FBI, that's great. But having your feelings hurt because someone says you suck, that's a big thing apparently. And so if we're equal, the men don't do that. I don't see it happening. And I'm sure there's a man somewhere in the world that's run to the UN because he got his feelings hurt, but I haven't heard about it yet. So prove to us feminism isn't toxic and it isn't poisoning people's minds, and that we are equal.
Answer this because it's a reasonable question. What happened on that Friday where I was targeted was they'd scared me so bad on Thursday that I took a 24-hour Twitter break from a group called 8chan that has a very specific room in it for Gamergate because they've been intimidating me for hours and hours and hours. They generated thousands of memes attacking me, which scared me. So I took a break and went away from Twitter.
As bad as it is to wake up every day and have to sort through dozens of messages telling me that I am subhuman, that I deserve to be raped, that I'm fat and ugly and a prude and a whore, and as bad as the people are who are sending those messages, I'd say that, to me, the people who tell me to stop talking about my harassment are 1,000 times worse. That's right. You, liberal intellectual guy who has a healthy interest in science and skepticism, but who finds feminism distasteful and would rather not hear about it, you are worse than rape threats.
I want to say that bullying, harassment, threats of any kind towards anyone is wrong. It is just wrong. It is flat out wrong. So me or anyone else criticizing people that complain are not saying that the threats are justified, their harassment is justified. No, it is always wrong to bully, harass, or make threats. And at some point, threats to your body and your way of life become illegal. Okay. Now next I want to talk about a woman who is a hero and has done more for women and for progressives all over the world, Ayaan Hirsi Ali. And she, talking about threats, she has 24-hour security. She has for years. And while making a film, after making a film with Theo Van Gogh, was threatened. Theo Van Gogh was murdered and had a note stabbed to his body. So here's Ayaan Hirsi Ali talking about her experiences and her issues.
Sharia law has come to Walmart. They're crazy. But what is involved in Sharia law?
Well, Sharia law is the system of law that Saudi Arabia has, that Iran has, that the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria is trying to implement. Sharia law basically decides absolutely everything about yourself. It decides how women and men should interact with one another. Adulterers are flogged or stoned. people who drink are subjected to various harsh punishments, death. I am somebody who left the religion of Islam. The punishment under Sharia law for me would be to be killed. If you're gay, you are to be taken to the tallest building in town and thrown down. And if you're still alive, there's a mob waiting there to lynch you. We're seeing all of this carried out in many places, formally and informally. When I say formally, I mean by a government, informally by people doing it themselves. And that takes me to the fourth point, which is the commanding right and forbidding wrong, where individual citizens feel that they can tell you what is right, and if you don't, you're not behaving the right way, they can punish you. And then finally, of course, jihad, holy war, should be replaced with holy peace.
And we know Sharia law is popular in many more countries than you even named. I mean, when I have liberals on this show, one of the big arguments is, well, you're painting with a broad brush. Of course, Saudi Arabia is backward, but what about Indonesia and Turkey and Jordan? Well, I looked up Indonesia and Turkey and Jordan, and, well, here are some of the statistics here. In Sharia law, 72% of Indonesians favor it. Jordan, 71%. Stoning of adulterers, Indonesia, 48% popular. Jordan, 67%. Death for leaving Islam, Jordan, 82%. These are their bastions of freedom and democracy.
Some of the other women that were shown earlier in this video may have had probably had actual death threats. A lot of them, when you're dealing with the internet, a lot of it's probably trolling, but death threats are death threats, and that's not good, and nobody should ever have to deal with it. But Ayaan Hirsi Ali has endured death threats that are awfully serious, to the point where she really has for years. She's had to flee countries, and she has persevered and made something of it. She's written books. She's been, instead of starting Patreon pages to get money because people feel sorry for her, she's gone ahead. She's been speaking. She does classes. She's written books, and she's done a lot of good for women in the world. She's done a lot of good for Muslims, for ex-Muslims, for people thinking about leaving the faith, and she's now courageously trying to reform Islam. And I give her a lot of credit for that. I'd never seen her on videos. Maybe there are some, maybe they're out there, but I have never seen her whining and crying about people saying she sucks and she's terrible and she gets harassed and so forth. I don't see her. I have to believe she probably receives death threats every minute of every day because of apostasy, and that's a real thing. And where she's from, that is a real thing. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. If you like it, hit the like button and subscribe. Visit us on our social network channels. The links are somewhere down there. And links to all the videos are somewhere down there in the description. Thank you very much. Goodbye.